with the amount of romance fantasy manhwa I've read, I have read a bunch of series, from the good, the bad, and the terrible. It is admittedly a guilty pleasure of mine. It's sort of like junk food. Yummy, but I don't overthink of whether it's good for me or not. Sometimes I just turn my brain off and read whatever catches my eye that day. Yes, I judge books by its cover. Disclaimer, there are a lot of bad tropes and I won't be able to cover them all in this video. Most of the time, I also just block out bad series from my brain, so we're only going to cover the tropes that are included in series I actually remember or I haven't been traumatized by. Thus, here are romance fantasy manhwa tropes that I hate. Number 1. When the MC is stuck on matchmaking the male lead with the original female lead. In otome isekai, it's common for an MC to get transported into a novel. Sometimes they're reincarnated as a side character, but of course, somehow our main character always wins over the male lead, leaving the original female lead single. However, almost always, our main character is convinced that the male lead is still going to fall in love with the original female lead. Oftentimes, this trope is used as another obstacle to stand between the MC and the ML, but obstacles are meant to develop a character. The only development we get with this trope is reassurance that the main couple are indeed in love, when it has already been established for the past 50 chapters. Why are we taking a step backward in the wrong direction? It drags stories and aren't actually necessary for extra tension. More often than not, this trope is also thrown in the final arcs of a series. For goodness sake, anyone with half a brain can see he's in love with you. He's speaking in poetry. I think the only way I can accept this trope is if their feelings are actually unrequited. Now that makes for a good story and it leaves you wondering of what the actual end is. But when the end is clear, I don't want this trope at all. Number 2. When the MC isn't actually smart and the cast are just made of fools. Look, between just you and I, don't you think we're at least, smarter than a 5th grader? We may share the same brain cell, but we share a good brain cell. So when the story gives us elementary tactics and manipulation, and the MC falls for it, I'm just left scratching my head. It gets worse when the writer still pushes and insists that the MC is this mastermind plotter girl boss. I'm okay with silly simple MCs. Let silly simple MCs be silly. Don't let them take themselves too seriously because once they do, they lose their charm. Stop right there. Not every MC has to be an intellect, and that's okay. A good example of this is HameFura. In HameFura, Katarina isn't the brightest MC. If anything, she's quite a fool, earning the nickname Bakarina by the masses. But at the same time, she doesn't force or pretend to be anything else. She's silly and goofy and she owns up to it. That's her charm and we love her for it. But if you're writing a character to be a scholar, top of her class, but still gets fooled by every single character in the series, you cannot convince me that she can fool those same characters back later. And somehow she's also leading a political revolt? What? How? How are they the same character? I truly believe naivety is a beautiful character trait. An author can use it to make for an interesting story and a development arc. I read shoujo of all things, but I have my limits too. Dear authors, at least keep your characters consistent. Number 3. Cold male leads done wrong. I want to preface saying cold male leads are actually one of my favorite type of male leads. Don't come at me, it's fiction. But with this preference, I'm met with a lot of horribly done male leads where their coldness results in either 2 things. 1. The ML is rude and abrasive and their actions gets justified because of trauma. They're rude to the MC, they're rude to the rest of the cast, and somehow that's supposed to be attractive? I guess. I don't judge. Or 2, the ML simply doesn't have a personality. They usually have the same resting face and maybe the occasional smile. and they're really there to serve looks, to which I say thank you, but also, give me something more to work with. There's something funny I read somewhere, and they said if you replace a character with a lamp and it still works, are they even worth including in the first place? So dear authors, stop serving us bad cold MLs. They're tarnishing the names of the actual good MLs, my beloved. Number 4. When there's multiple love interests. I hate love triangles. I hate harems. I hate multiple love interests. Most of the time, if not always, the endgame for a series is pretty clear from the start. So when the authors include a second lead or worse, a harem to choose from, I'm just left wondering, what was the point? Again, a third party never gives way for much development between characters anyway. I guess it gives us a chance to see some jealousy, but even then, at what cost? There's better ways to go about this. I think what makes this trope worse for me is that authors make the third party a genuinely good person. So us, as the reader, end up just feeling bad for them. Yes, I was victim to second male lead syndrome, but your girl's cured now, free of stress. I don't even feel bad for them at this point, because I instantly just scroll past any scenes that include any other love interest. And guess what? The story doesn't change. Again, these authors are always including some tired trope that does nothing for the story. With harems, on the other hand, it boggles my mind to see the MC just rizz up a whole cast of people. I guess it makes for good entertainment, I'll give it that, but somehow with these stories that include multiple love interests, why do they always choose the worst option? Don't get me started on this. Don't get me started. And the shipping wars that come with this trope, that's a whole other Pandora's box that I don't want to unpack. And number 5, unbearably snobbish characters. A lot of romance fantasy manhwas take place in historical settings. And with historical settings comes classes like royalty or commoners, so it's a given there'll be snobby royals that look down on people, or snobby royals that compete between factions. While I appreciate social tension, cold characters, and manipulation, unreasonably cruel and snobby characters has never appealed to me. These characters are often emotionally charged, aggressive, cruel, and worse off, put in a place of power. These antagonists come off so one-dimensional, and I don't enjoy any arcs that are driven by them. Give me an antagonist worth fighting, at least. If you're tired of tropes like me, a romance fantasy manhwa I find refreshing, and mostly free from tropes, is Your Eternal Lies. Again, another one of my all-time favorites. It's about Rosen Walker, a prisoner, who is being transferred to one of the most secure prisons in the world. Her guard is none other than a beloved war hero, Ian Connor. Rosen, as a master of escaping, only has a few days until she arrives at the prison. Can she outwit Ian and free herself with her lies? This manhwa reads much like a novel. It doesn't extend into long periods of time and focuses on one objective. It feels like watching a movie. You're never left wondering when it's going to end. I think its biggest strength is that it isn't just a bunch of tropes thrown together for entertainment. Every single part of this manhwa has a purpose and stands on its own. I think it's bold for me to say that there isn't any other series like it. So yeah, if you're looking for a thrilling, fast-paced romance fantasy, I 100% recommend Your Eternal Lies. You won't regret giving it a chance. Writing this list physically makes my heart pound. Not in a good way. It's kind of funny, but seriously, dear authors, I truly believe you can do better. While I love tropes, when they're done over and over and over again and they become tired, I think it's due time to say goodbye. What are some of the tropes that you avoid like the plague? I'd love to hear y'all's take in the comment section, and if you made it this far, comment a crown. This has been Day signing out. Keep on dreaming, peeps. Bye!